does air conditioning fit into school planning? Is this just an architectural necessity or frivolity, or is it necessary for the overall planning of a school curriculum?
In planning, the work that we do is planning for schools rather than planning schools. Architects design schools. Educational planners plan for schools, and we are primarily interested in the learning aspect, the child, what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, what's going to take place in the classroom, who he is, and what his potential. We talk about everybody being created equal and having equal opportunities, which is probably far from being the truth, because we aren't created equal. We do not have equal opportunities. However, our job is to take the child that is having the most problem in school and bring him up as rapidly as possible and let him achieve the level that he is competent to achieve.
Is air conditioning necessary for modern school planning, or can you plan a modern school without air conditioning?
I don't think you can.
Unless something changes, the 6,500-plus members of the UAW Union, Local 218, appear ready to walk off their jobs as shop workers at the Bell Helicopter plant here in Hearst. The walkout will come Sunday unless the company and the union can agree on new contract terms. The only demand that anyone is talking about presently is an increase in company-paid insurance benefits for the workers. The union is also said to be demanding a 6% wage increase, but no one seems willing either to confirm or deny that report. Company officials say that Bell is currently manufacturing about 200 helicopters per month. 80% of that production is military, specifically the UH-1, better known perhaps as the Huey, and the OH-58A, which is a light observation helicopter. A strike at Bell at this time could possibly result in a Taft-Hartley injunction due to the military demand for helicopters. The Bell gunships are particularly vital since the government has just rejected a bid by Lockheed to provide their Cheyenne as a competitor to the Bell helicopters. The union men will decide Sunday afternoon whether to accept the company's latest offers. If the vote is no, they'll walk out. Jerry Taft at the Bell helicopter plant in Hearst.
There are those who say the $46,000 could have been better spent serving some of the people who are poor in Tarrant County. Do you feel that by spending this money in this way, you're going to be able to more than make up the $46,000?
Oh, yes. I think the basic problem here is that most people think that we are a welfare agency. We're not. We're not in the business to do services, welfare services. What we're trying to do is to provide opportunities for persons to come out of the need for welfare services. And this is a misunderstanding. Certainly $46,000 would not do very much in welfare services in this county.
The research analysts and government research have pointed out that we will have another 100 million people by the year 2000, which would bring our total population in the United States to over 300 million people. If we continue to live in the same areas where we live today, 90% of that 300 million people will live on 10% of our lands, meaning the great majority will live in our cities. Today, for instance, we have 70% of our people living on 30% of our land. What we need and what we desperately need during the next 30 years are new cities, new satellite cities being in size possibly from 100 to 250,000, not more than that. We need new efficient cities. We need a great deal of more urban renewal. We must build new cities outside of any other city area. We must build them, we might say, in the wilderness. We must build them in areas where we start to develop our own new city.
General, you're referring to the little hypothetical case that I gave you a moment ago of a man found in a garage. The question as to whether he's dead as a result of poor exhaust ventilation or whether he's dead of an underlying disease process is most important. If he's dead of the former, that is poor exhausting of gases, then the widow is entitled to workman's compensation perhaps, or perhaps entitled to a double indemnity life insurance policy payment, which she would get only if there was a proper investigation of the man's death.
But do you think there are many cases like this where there's something needs to be done to correct a problem that has caused the death?
Yes, in perhaps between 5 and 10% of all deaths, the initial concept of why the death occurred, that is, whether it was an accident or a suicide or due to natural diseases, is wrong. And it's our aim to correct this as best we can.
Mr. Mueller, we have your complaint about the barricade protecting the small hole over the drainage pipe at Denton and Hudnall. And after looking at this thing, we thoroughly agree with you, and if you're ever interested in inspection work for the city, I'd invite you to call me, because this certainly needed attention, and we're making plans to eliminate this unsightly barricade in the street and replace it with a valley gutter. And we appreciate you calling this to our attention.
There must be a certain amount of truth to the fact that it's not, that the CAA here is not getting done the job that even you think it should, and that you've agreed to spend $46,000 finding out what you and your peers are not doing properly. What's the
Yes,
story behind
I
that?
think what you're talking about here is the board action taken Tuesday night to employ a consultant firm to do a management study. And when you're handling a program that's has a $2 million a year outlay, it's just good sense to have management consultants. Occasionally, this is the kind of a thing that we're doing that any business that has this type of operation would do.